looked at filmmaking as a hobby. I was not looking at it as any kind of career. I went to college and studied physics with the idea that I would be a scientist. I wanted to be an astronaut at that time because I love space and all the unknown possibilities of adventures in space. And that was the time of the moon landings, the first moon landings, so that was very topical in the news that I wanted to maybe go into space and be trained as a scientist. But on the other hand, I still loved escaping into the imaginary world of films. And I studied just what few things I could learn in books about photography or cinematography. And but I had an additional tool in my toolbox, you might say, which was sound. At that time, you couldn't shoot any kind of synchronized sound with your films. You could create a soundtrack later and dub it, but you had to do it on a tape recorder, magnetic tape. And my father had brought home a tape recorder for me to play with when I was in first grade, 6 years old. I was home, I had an illness and I had to stay home from school for a few weeks. And he was afraid I didn't have enough to do. And so he brought this tape recorder home, showed me how to record my voice. And that introduced me to yet another technology, creative technology, which was sound. And I started recording not only myself and making stories, but I started recording my favorite movies off television and stockpiling a big archive long before you had DVDs or anything of that sort. And I would listen to the films over and over and over again. And I didn't know it, but I was learning how the music and dialogue and sound effects in a film completed the illusion, the visual illusions. The sound is very important, not something to be taken for granted. And so, I got fascinated in the sound effects, and I started collecting the sounds from the movies and editing them out to use in my own films. I got a little older, I would go to the drive-in movie, drive-in car, and I would go there and I'd take the speaker apart and connect to it with my tape recorder and get a really clean copy of, I remember recording Lawrence of Arabia, of all things at the drive-in, and some of the James Bond movies at the time, and then I would take those home and study them, and listen to, early pirate, I guess you might say. I didn't know it at the time, but out of that I got just very interested in how sound was part of the motion picture experience. And so I once again, it's just a hobby that was beginning to dominate my time, but I didn't consider going into the movies as a job.
Professional